Monday, the 3rd of December, 2012. And 18 more days before everything goes to hell. No, I'm just kidding. I don't really buy into that Mayan stuff. Really don't. How you doing? This is The Views Expressed. I'm your host, Reverend Wayne S. Pierce. How y'all doing? You can email us here at the show at Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. I want to get this off my chest. I heard Bob Costas's rant about guns. And guess what? He's an idiot. He's just a pathetic idiot. That's all there is to it. You know, anybody that says, guns kill people, well, okay, pens and pencils give you bad grades in school. See where the logic is in that one, folks? Yeah. How you doing? This is The Views Expressed. I'm glad you're here. Hey, if you're listening, I do get notified that people do listen to the show. If you're listening live, pop into the chat room and say hi. Or whatever it is you want to say. Because, hey, it's The Views Expressed. You got something to say? Say it. There you go. I got Open Forum Friday this week. Or every week, actually. So I can give you information on how to call in and say whatever it is that's on your mind. So, first of all, speaking of which, last Friday, we had Angel Clark on. I want to thank her. Awesome show that she does, the Angel Clark Show, over at radiofreedom.us. And, of course, SussexCountyAngel.com is where she does most of her blogs. So check that show out. It's 5 to 7 Eastern. The Angel Clark Show, radiofreedom.us. So anyway, hey, onward and upward to The Views Expressed on the 3rd of December, 2012. Lots of stuff. If you want to follow along, go to Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook, because that's where most of the stories I talk about are. But I had two very important ones to talk about, and I actually printed them out because it's very important. And let me get those out of the way after the break. But let me tell you what's coming up. Independence Forever. Don't ratify UN Disabilities Treaty. Go check that one out. That's going to put chills on your on your neck. Vatican introduces new security measures after Vatileaks scandal. Yeah, I'll tell you about that scandal. Of course, we've all grown up here, gone to school here in the U.S., and we've had teachers that were awesome, and we had teachers that were not so awesome. But I'm not talking about teachers, I'm talking about the education system in Finland. Go check that one out. Big picture up there on Liberty and Freedom Network. Also, why Congress might abandon the debt ceiling. It's from theblaze.com. Also from The Blaze, columnist who inspired Costa's gun control lecture now claims, quote, NRA is the new KKK, unquote. Bunch of liberal idiots. I'm done with those folks. Also, hey, from prisonplanet.com, animal rights activists want NRA labeled domestic terrorist group. Okay, animal rights, NRA, far from being on the same side of the coin, right? I mean, seriously. Holy mackerel. So, anyway. Hey, I just noticed the clock on the wall. Actually, the clock on my computer. We're going to go to break. Going to come on back. Going to get into some of these articles. There's two of them I want to get into right after the break. Why you might only be able to get a part-time job in 2013, and also court upholds domestic drone use in arrest of American citizen. Isn't that wonderful? This is the Liberty and Freedom Network and the views expressed broadcasting on Spreaker.com. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. That is from 1984 by George Orwell. Do you really want to know what's going on? Come listen to The Views Express, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, only on the Liberty and Freedom Network.
Samo Radio, playing music for free so you can listen longer. Samo.
It's the 5 o'clock drive with Samo.
Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. till 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
What's on your mind? Chances are it's on their mind too. Check out Diana and Wayne's Grab Bag Potpourri Talk Show. Friday evenings at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Only on Spreaker.com. We are back. The views expressed right here on the Liberty and Freedom Network. Broadcasting live on Spreaker.com for the 3rd of December, 2012. Yep, it's the 3rd already. What are you going to do on December 21st? Just, I'm curious. I mean, email me. Or if you're in the chat room, tell me. I mean, all this Mayan stuff, do you really believe that? I just want to get that question out of the way, too. Do you believe all this December 21st, kind of, all this kind of stuff? Do you really honestly think that the world's coming to an end? The time of the age is coming to the end. There's certain things, happening. But I also think that a lot of people are out there, let's just... Let's just say this. Self-fulfilling prophecy. They want it to come, they're going to do something. Oh, it's December 21st. We got to do... Really? Do you guys really, buy into all that crap? Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Go to Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. Go check that out. Like the page. And, yeah. If you write an article that you want in the email newsletter that I send out, send that. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. And I'll put that sucker in there. If you have information also that you find, you can put it on the Liberty and Freedom Network page. Go ahead. So anyway, hey, from Infowars.com. Actually, from economicpolicyjournal.com. It was posted on Infowars. Why you might only be able to get part-time work in 2013. Isn't it wonderful? I remember back in the 70s, I had a friend of my dad's was working at Sears and Roebuck, is what it was called back then. He said he was working full-time for almost, at that point, was almost 10 to 15 years, and he was getting ready to retire, And he he told my dad, and I was right there with my dad, he told my dad, he goes, yeah, they laid off a whole bunch of us, they got rid of it, and they were union, let's put it this way. I forgot to mention that, they were union. So the Sears Roebuck Company was saying, no, we got to cut this down and, doing all... Back then it wasn't called downsizing, but that's what they did. And they turned all the full-time people into part-time, basically busting the union. Below 30 hours a week. Yeah. That was back in the 70s. So, this isn't new, folks. Okay? Why you might only be able to get part-time work in 2013, operators of small businesses are going to be cutting full-time employees throughout 2013 to under 50 to stay under the Obamacare tax. Right there should tell you. Okay. Here's the thinking of one small business owner. And the business owner says, here's what I'm doing for the rest of the year, working with every manager in my company so that as of January 1st, 2013, none of our employees are working more than 28 hours a week. I think most readers know the reason. We have got to get our company under 50 full-time employees, or else I'm facing a bill from Obamacare in 2014 that will be several times larger than my annual profit. And he goes on and talks about his workers and everything. Continuing, this will be unpopular but tolerable to most of my employees. The vast majority of them are retired, and our company is merely an excuse to stay busy, work outdoors, and get a little extra money. And he goes on to say, but this is going to be an enormous change for the rest of the service sector. I have talked to a lot of owners of restaurants, restaurant chains, and 40-hour work week is a thing of the past in that business. One of my employees said that in Hawaii, it was all the hotel employees could talk about. My chains are working on multi-team systems where 2 teams of people working part-time replaced a former group of full-time employees. 2013 is going to see a lot of people who are not paid very well to begin with getting their hours and pay cut by 25%. At the same time, as I turn the page, they are required, likely for the first time since many are relatively young, to purchase health insurance. Okay, so most businesses have their own little trust and have their own little, packages of health providers and stuff like that, that kind of thing. 80-20, remember that, or 70-30 or 90-10, whatever. They had that. Now, they're not going to offer it. And if they do, you're going to have to pay a little more out of your check. That's the thinking, anyway. That's the thinking. Continuing, it is really going to get crazy as the owner above speculates. As the owner, I just read you what his statements were. It will be interesting to see what solutions emerge. My bet is that it will all become standard for people in the service sector to work 2 different jobs for 20 to 25 hours each with 2 different companies. This will be a pain for them, but allow them to keep their income up. The hard part may be coordinating shifts between companies. For example, a company that divides their shifts into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday versus Thursday, Friday, Saturday cannot share employees with one who divides their shifts between morning and afternoon. If given time, this owner of this company says, I would guess that just as the Monday, Friday work week emerged as a standard, companies may adopt standard ways of dividing up work weeks for part-timers, making it easy for schedules to mesh. By the way, that's been going on for years on a voluntary basis. Big companies that I know and where I grew up in Stockton, California, like New York Life and, big, huge, companies, like that in the service sector. Literally, like receptionists would come in and work from 9 to noon, and then somebody else would come in and work from 1 to 4, and, that kind of thing. That's been going on for a long, long time. So, but, it's going to get worse. If you look back into the whole internet boom and all of that, and even prior to that, you see a lot of downsizing, a lot of people getting laid off, but correlate the numbers of unemployed to how many businesses were created from those people who got laid off. Comparatively, with hundreds of thousands of people getting laid off, it wasn't that much. But in the region, let's say, for instance, California or Nevada, How many people who were laid off from their job created their own business and now work for themselves making more money? You know, it's that simple. You know, a lot of people, and I know this, a lot of people get unemployed and they're just like, well, geez, I can do, 56 weeks of unemployment and then, hell, they'll give me a state emergency fund for another, several months. I'm just going to sit on my butt. Well, there are people that do that. But why? If your hobby is something you love to do, I know somebody right now that used to bake cakes, and just kind of give them to people or sell them or whatever. And then they turned around, and of course their company downsized, so they went and started baking cakes. And within about a year, oh my God, working for themselves, making a whole lot more money than what they were doing going to a 9-to-5 job. And they love doing what they do. And that's the key. You got to love what you do. I know an author right now who gets up every morning and he says this: you have to treat it like a job. And using air quotes and the small word job. You got to treat it like a job. Time management. You're going to work all that. It's real simple, folks. Okay, real simple. You get laid off from your job. My dad gave me the best advice, and I'm sure some parents have done this too. And my dad said, find something you love to do and find a way to make money at it. And I went, sounds good to me. So why not? So there you go. But onward and upward. The point is that it's going to get really, really tough because people are so used to working 40 hours a week or 32 hours a week or whatever it was. Now they're going to have to get used to working 25 or 28 hours a week. Because of, wait for it, Obamacare. Hello? It's a piece of crap. Okay? It's going to get worse. A lot worse. Okay? There were people, I just heard today, there was, and even a few months ago or whatever, I talked to nurses and doctors, and they said, and it's statistics, it's out in the public anyway, it's out in the public forum, doctors are going to just drop off the system. They're going to go do their own thing. They don't want to be part of the Obamacare. They're going to find some other way to do things. Because it's pointless. It doesn't work. People who, they're like, well, look at Canada. They're really good. No, they're not. Look at England. They're really good. Really? Seriously? No, I don't think so. Go look at the statistics. Numbers don't lie. Do they? Neither do people. Because I know people in Canada. Yeah. If you got a common cold, you might as well just stay home and, take care of it with home remedies because you ain't getting in to see a doctor. You got a broken bone? Yeah, you may get in to see a doctor. You got a heart problem? Oh, figure waiting for a year and a half before you even get in to see a specialist. And by the way, yes, Sarah Palin was right. There are death panels. Okay? Just letting you know. All right? People that have no clue, that have never even worked in the medical field, that haven't even, dealt with patients, are now telling the doctors what they can and cannot do. Interesting. Do you think? Anyway. Email me, libertyandfreedomnetwork@usa.com, libertyandfreedomnetwork@usa.com. Next on the list, hey, get this. By the way, to preface this next article, by 2015 to 2020, FAA will authorize, and the United States government, Washington, D.C., the Pentagon, all those alphabet soup organizations up there, will have at least 30,000, you heard that right, 30,000 drones in the sky over America. They're already up there. They're all over Austin, Texas. They're all over the place. They're yeah. I'm going to put a challenge out to the listeners, please. Put a little challenge out for you. I'm going to do some homework. It's a couple of things. Real simple. When you're driving around your town here in somewhere USA, always take your camera. Here's why. If you see vehicles that say Federal Protective Services on the side, Homeland Security Police, take a picture of it. By the way, Supreme Court says that you can now film police officers, so do it. Okay? That's what the Supreme Court says. All right? So take those pictures of the Department of Homeland Security Police roaming your streets and byways of your communities. And also, if you see drones in the air, take a picture of it. Send it to me. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. And I'll put it up on the website. Here's this from this person in this town. I'll give you full credit for it. Write a little article if you like. Toss it to me in the email. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Yeah, I'll put it on the website. Website, freeamericaradio.wix. That's wix.com/the views expressed. Check that out. Trying to get a normal URL so people won't have to, God, that's an awfully long URL. freeamericaradio.wix.com/the views expressed. Court upholds domestic drone use and arrest of American citizen. A motion to dismiss charges based on the use of a Predator drone, those are the ones they use in Afghanistan, was denied Wednesday. Now, this goes back to August of this year, a few months back. A North Dakota court has preliminarily upheld the first ever use of an unmanned drone to assist in the arrest of an American citizen. The judge denied a request to dismiss charges Wednesday against Rodney Brossart, a man arrested last year after a 16-hour standoff with police at his Lakota, North Dakota ranch. Brossart's lawyer argued that law enforcement's, quote, warrantless use of an unmanned military-like surveillance aircraft, unquote, and, quote, outrageous governmental conduct, unquote, warranted dismissal of the case, according to the court documents obtained by U.S. News. By the way, this comes from usnews.com. District talks about the district court judge Joel Medd, M-E-D-D, wrote that, quote, there is no improper use of an unmanned aerial vehicle, unquote, and that the drone, quote, appears to have had no bearing on these charges being contested here, unquote, according to the documents. Well, what happened in court? What else was said in court? This is what I want to know. Court records state that last June, 6 cows wandered onto Brossart's 3,000-acre farm about 60 miles west of Grand Forks. Brossart allegedly refused to return the cows, which led to a long-armed standoff with the Grand Forks Police Department. At some point during the standoff, Homeland Security, through an agreement with local police, offered up the use of an unmanned Predator drone, which, quote, was used for surveillance, unquote, according to the court documents. Grand Forks SWAT Team Chief Bill Mackey said in an interview that the drone was used to ensure Brossart and his family members, who were also charged, didn't leave the farm and were unarmed during the arresting raid. Thing that jumped out at me, through an agreement with local police to use the drone. Can you say militarized law enforcement? Because that's what they are now. Your law enforcement, local, county, statewide, cannot do anything Oh, they can do some things. I shouldn't say can't do anything. They can do some things, but major things? No, they can't get anything unless they get approval from Department of Homeland Security. Yeah. By the way, last year or beginning of this year, 2012, the Pentagon. Yeah, that big thing over there in Washington, D.C., where that got hit by a missile on 9/11/2001. They told local law enforcement all over. They put a statement out, a memo out to all law enforcement. Hey, we have surplus military equipment. All you got to do is pay for shipping and it's yours. Guess what? A lot of people did that. So, put 2 and 2 together, folks. In my book, it still adds up to 4. Hey, I want to say, go over to the Spreaker chat before we go to the bottom of the hour break. Yeah, Mr. BK from that BK show over on KTRNradio.com is in the house. Up into Hizzle. Yeah, white guy trying to sound street. That's just stupid, isn't it? That's just self-deprecating humor. Hey, if I can't laugh at myself, I sure as hell ain't going to laugh at anybody else. Anyway. Hey, yeah, so drones all over the place. We have military exercises happening, military-style exercises happening all over the place. The cities, the counties, the states are all getting together, the law enforcement, and going out and war gaming. Oh, and by the way, 1.8, what is it now at last count? 1.8 billion rounds of ammo for the Department of Homeland Security, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, Weather Channel, that kind of thing. And all those 1.8 billion rounds of ammo. Yeah, a lot more than we send the military. Let's see. 2 and 2, 4. Hello. Think they got something going on? Think they know something? I know we know it. By the way, more women. The statistic, I just read this yesterday. More women are going to the firing range. More women are learning how to use guns. More women are training with guns. Hello? Guys, don't piss off your wife. She'll shoot your jewels, if you know what I mean. Anyway. Yeah, KTRN Radio. There's BK there in the chat room. Can I get Scud missile hits Pentagon for 400, Alex? Oh, yeah, and Diana's in the chat room. She's usually at work at this point. Yes, Diana from Diana and Wayne's Grab Bag Potpourri Talk Show. Yes, how you like that? Anyway, hey, we're coming down to the bottom of the hour break. We're gonna take a little break there. So, speaking of Mr. BK, Mr. Brian Keller. Yeah. Just want to let you know that you can get a hold of me here as well. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Go to Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. Check that out. You are listening to the views expressed on the Liberty and Freedom Network, broadcasting live on Spreaker.com. Are you an actor looking for a place to promote your work? Do you do voiceover work and want others to hear what you do? Go to Eastland Entertainment and get your work seen and heard. Eastland Entertainment is your one-stop shop in the Reno, Nevada area for all of your entertainment needs. Eastland Entertainment will promote your work for you. Eastland Entertainment also produces original short films and radio plays through Eastland Radio Films. For more information, contact them at eastlandentertainment@usa.com or go to the Eastland Radio Films website at eastlandradiofilms.wix.com/eastlandfilms. That's eastlandradiofilms.wix.com/eastlandfilms. Are you looking for an alternative to your normal everyday radio? Well, check out KTRNradio.com. Jay Towers and Brian Keller bring you everything that you ever wanted to know, and even if you didn't want to know it. Go check out That Radio Show with your host, Jay Towers, and That DK Show with your host, Brian Keller, on KTRNradio.com.
It's 106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Do you wear your sunglasses at night? Well, maybe you do some other crazy things too. Why not add The Sandy Fox Show to your list? You can find me on Spreaker.com, Icecast.org, and TuneIn.com. Fox out.
I wear my sunglasses at night so I can watch you weave and breathe your storylines.
Listen to Angel Clark Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Radio Freedom News Network. RadioFreedom.us.
This is Reverend Wayne S. Pierce for the views expressed for the 3rd of December 2012. So, do you buy into that Mayan stuff? I mean, there's prophecies have come true for thousands of years, and we can just see that. We can just point our finger and go, yep, that happened, So, but what about this? Big brouhaha over in the Mayans. What'd they do? Just run out of rock? I don't know, man. Have you seen the artwork over in the Mayan culture? Holy crap. Man, they're better than I am. Anyway, this is The Views Expressed. I am your host, Reverend Wayne S. Pierce, and how are you doing? Hey, if you got promos you want me to do for your show, I will do the voiceover on it. Or you can do the voiceover on it and send it to me. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Hey, if you got a graphic or, something like that, really, and you have a link, send that to me as well. I'll put that on the connections on the website at freeamericaradio.wix.com/theviewsexpressed. So thank you very much for your support. While you're at the website, go to the right-hand side of the page. You see a book, Many Directions of Man. I wrote that. It's just my observations of things going on and some possible solutions. So check that out. It's the 2nd edition. So I'm putting together all of the stuff for the 3rd edition. It's going to be a lot thicker and a lot more. It's going to look a lot more professional. Trust me. So anyway, I'm just a little inside note there. So pick up that book. Go to the left-hand side of the website, and you'll see store. You see a tab that says store. Go promote your patriotism by buying stuff at the store. So that's awesome. And also support Liberty and Freedom Network. And you can tell people about it. It has, Liberty and Freedom Network right on the stuff, and you can tell people about the show, And also, on the left-hand side of the website, down below, you'll see a donate button. Whatever it is you can do, your support is very much appreciated. All it does is keep the website up and the show going. That's all it does. Yeah, pretty much. Hey, I hope you guys are having a great day. I know the weekend is past us. I hope you had a great weekend. And I look forward to the week. I seriously do. I look forward to it. We got 4 more days left. So I look forward to it. Hey, let's go to Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. U.S. is now the only major economy in the world where the younger generation is not going to be better educated, if I can say the word, than the older. Yeah, you know why? They're all connected. Yeah, technology. Hello. I remember, I know, I'm going to go back. You probably remember this too. Pong. Remember Pong? We had Pong when I was a kid. All right, I was like 10. And I thought that was the greatest thing in the world. Stayed in the house a lot. My mom had to walk over to the TV and shut it off and say, get outside. So, yeah, get a breath of fresh air. Go outside. Really? What's out there? There's nothing out there. Go play with the dog. Yeah. Oh, okay. The dog doesn't care, you know. So we know. Kick the kids outside. Put them outside. Yeah, I was out there doing all kinds of stuff. Downward Mobility Haunts U.S. Education by Sean Gofflin, BBC News. U.S. is now the only major economy in the world where the younger generation is not going to be better educated than the older. An integral part of the American dream is under threat as, quote-unquote, downward mobility seems to be threatening the education system in the U.S. The idea of going to college and the expectation that the next generation will be better educated and more prosperous than its predecessor has been hardwired into the ambitions of the middle classes in the United States. But there are deep-seated worries about whether this upward mobility is going in reverse, you think? Andreas Schleicher, I believe, special advisor on education at the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, says the U.S. is now the only major economy in the world where the younger generation is not going to be better educated than the older. Quote, it's something of great significance because much of today's economic power of the United States rests on a very high degree of adult skills. And that is now at risk. These skills are the engine of the U.S. economy, and the engine is stuttering, he says, one of the world's most influential experts on international education comparisons. Lack of opportunity. The annual OECD education statistics show that only about 1 in 5 young adults in the U.S. reaches a higher level of education than their parents, among the lowest rates of upward mobility in the developed world. Ohio steelworkers, a Ohio steelworker in Ohio in 1950 drives away in his new Dodge, paid for with a $320 monthly wage. The steelworks have shut down, and the town is now in the Rust Belt. For a country whose self-image is based on optimism and opportunity, the U.S. is now a country where someone with poorly educated parents is less likely to reach university than in almost any other industrial country. It's the opposite of a Hollywood ending. And about 1 in 5 young adults in the U.S. are now defined in educational terms as, quote-unquote, downwardly mobile, such as children who have graduate parents but who don't reach university level themselves. When the global story of higher education is so much about rapid expansion and the race to increase graduates, it's almost counterintuitive to find a powerhouse such as the United States on the brink of going backwards. It's easy to overlook the dominance of U.S. higher education in the post-war era, or how closely this was linked to its role as an economic, scientific, and military superpower. The U.S. had the first great mass participation in university history. The GI Bill, which provided subsidies for a generation of World War II veterans, supported 3 times as many people as are currently in the entire UK university sector. An American born in the 1950s was about twice as likely to become a graduate than in the rest of the industrialized world. As the cars ran off the production lines in Detroit, the graduates were leaving the universities to become part of an expanding middle class. But the U.S. university system is no longer the only skyscraper on the block. It's been overtaken by rivals in Asia and Europe. President Barack Obama has promised that by 2020, the U.S. will regain its position as the global leader in the proportion of young people becoming graduates. Today's young Americans have a below-average chance of becoming a graduate compared with other industrialized economies. The U.S. Education Secretary Arne Duncan, in a speech a few weeks ago, asked how the U.S. had, in, quote, the space of a generation, unquote, tumbled from first place to 14th in graduation rates. So what's gone wrong? The spiraling cost of higher education in the United States is often cited as a barrier, and the collective student debt has exceeded $1 trillion. But Andreas Schleicher argues that a deeper problem is rooted in the inequalities of the school system. He says that the level of social segregation and the excessive link between home background and success in school is, quote-unquote, cutting off the supply between secondary school and university. The migrant energy in the U.S. culture is no longer operating in the school system. Quote, if you lose the confidence in the idea that effort and investment in education can change life chances, it's a really serious issue, he says. Middle class squeeze. The U.S. Senate. Wonderful. The U.S. Senate committee examined this sense of imperiled optimism in a hearing called Helping More Young People Achieve the American Dream. The economist Miles Korak was among the expert witnesses, and he says the U.S. education system reflects a wider picture of the hollowing out of the middle class. Quote, these skills are the engine of the U.S. economy, and the engine is stuttering. What you're seeing is inequality of the labor market being echoed in education. Let me say that again. What you're seeing is the inequality of the labor market being echoed in education. Professor Korak describes a polarizing jobs market with the very rich and very poor diverging, and a collapse in jobs in the middle ground, such as clerical and manufacturing jobs. For such families sending their children to college had once seen a defining metaphor for the country. In other words, the middle class upheld both ends. Now it's not so much. But it seems that the education system is no longer holding the door open to the brightest and the best, regardless of background. Philadelphia-based Pew Research Group compared the outcomes of young people in 10 Western countries in a project called Does America Promote Mobility as Well as Other Countries? Really? It found the U.S. had the strongest link between family wealth and educational success and the lowest mobility. High education, people get lazy. Advantage and disadvantage were being further amplified in education. Research manager Diana Elliott says in the U.S., quote, income has a pervasive hold on mobility, unquote. Insecurity. I would say this. I've said this before on previous episodes, and I'm going to say this again now. You can go to college all day long. You can go to college for 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 years. Does not matter, because what you're going to school for, what you're going to college for, the job that you're going for may not be there. That's one. Add another one to that. Put an equal sign after that. You're not going to get the 40-hour jobs anymore. You're not going to go to college, get a job, stay there for 40 or 50 years and retire with a good outcome. No. That little piece of paper on the wall don't mean a damn thing anymore. What? I got a BA and I'm only working 24 hours a week? That's on average, folks. 25 to 32 hours a week. People with BAs are working less than they did 10 years ago. Look at it. It's out there. You know. Continuing with the article here, another study by Pew against the backdrop of recession examined the phenomenon of downward mobility and found that a third of adults classified as middle class would slip out of that status during their adult life. Harvard and Yale football. While the U.S. has slipped down in graduate numbers, individual universities remain at the top of international university league tables. It reflected a modern sense of insecurity where families could no longer assume their children would be as prosperous. In fact, about a quarter of the children born in the middle class were expected to slip downwards. None of this matches the image of the U.S. as a place for fresh starts and self-made millionaires. Modern American history almost assumes that an upward incline. Get that? None of this matches the image of the U.S. as a place for fresh starts and self-made millionaires. Modern American history almost assumes, that's key there, folks, an upward incline. By evidence of this downward drift has been gathering in recent years. A study of the University of California, Berkeley showed that school levers, school leavers in California in 1970 were more likely to stay on to higher education than their counterparts in 2000. In terms of international education, that's like finding out that athletes were running faster 40 years ago. Such current difficulties should not be mistaken for any kind of end of empire zeitgeist, says Philip Altbach, director of the Center of International Higher Education at Boston College. Instead, he says it's a more practical question of money. The rising cost of higher education is a deterrent, and there is a wider question of finance for higher education at state level. He also says there is another dirty little secret, in quotes, of U.S. higher education, that too many people who enroll at university fail to graduate, which pushes down the graduation rate in international comparisons. Bouncing back, Andreas Schleicher also says there are reasons for optimism. Almost more than any other country, he says the U.S. has the financial resources, the capacity, and the flexibility to change course quickly and to catch up. There are already plans to recover lost ground. President Barack Obama has been reelected with a promise that the U.S. will regain its global first place in graduation rates by 2020. And as a part of this drive, the American Association of Community Colleges, in a project called Reclaiming the American Dream, has an ambitious plan to create 5 million more college places. But it's an aspiration against a gloomy background. Quote, the American dream is stalled, the association report says, describing a society where typical family becomes incomes having been falling for more than a decade. Told you, didn't I? Quote, a child born poor in the United States today is more likely to remain poor than at any other time in our history. Many other nations now outperform us in educational attainment and economic mobility, and the American middle class shrinks before our eyes, unquote. It's as if It's a Wonderful Life had been remade. without the happy ending. Folks, I don't know where to go from there. Honestly. I just think that we have to educate ourselves. When I was going to school, I'm not shy to say I graduated in 1980. But I started studying all this stuff between the time I was a junior in high school and after I graduated. That was between all the partying I did. That was kind of stupid. But I educated myself. It's called a book. You go to this big building in your city, usually funded by the county. It's called a library. You go there. It's kind of cool. You can sit there, read books. Kind of nice. Now they have like Starbucks in some of the libraries. It's kind of cool, but I had to read. I thought something's not quite right here, okay? We're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. I mean, we had to really, work ourselves, almost to death, metaphorically speaking, to graduate high school. Hell, I was 2 to 3 to 4 grades ahead of everybody else in high school. I was kind of sitting around going, God, I'm bored. I know this already. Some people, well, if you know it, just do it and get A's and get 4.0s and get into a college. Really? I knew back then going to college wasn't really, going to prove anything. Do I need a piece of paper on my wall to let people know what I'm talking about or that I'm educated enough to know what I'm talking about? No. I don't. But we have them to show that we have done the work. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Folks, when you get up, you look in the mirror, smile, be grateful that you're alive. Be grateful you have family and friends, and be grateful you're educated enough to make your day worthwhile. Because I'll tell you what, it doesn't take a freaking college graduate to operate a lawnmower on a landscaping job. Been there. It's just one of those things. I know, I've heard this. I don't know people personally, but I heard that there are people with graduate degrees working in fast food. What? Excuse me, I just, yeah. What? Yeah, so anyway. Hey, Brian Keller in the Spreaker chat says, special episode of the BK show tonight at 8 p.m. Pacific. Right here on Spreaker.com. So go look him up. That BK show. Right here on Spreaker, 8 p.m. Pacific. Check it out. Yeah, it's really cool. We'll go on and I'll give you a few. Go to Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook if you haven't been there already. Conventional food may soon be sterilized with microwave zap. Using the recent emergence of Salmonella and E. coli in food as a scapegoat, the corporation known as MicroZap is seeking to make its way into the food supply with its new, quote-unquote, microwave zap technique. The technique effectively hits food with a super high level of microwave radiation, killing all living bacteria, including good bacteria that is necessary for digestion and proper overall function. Go check that one out. It's a picture up there on Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. It's another picture up there, how Western imperialism works. 1, target a country by calling it a rogue state. Number 2, support local terrorists, calling them, quote-unquote, freedom fighters. Number 3, bomb the country into oblivion, calling it sanctions. That's in quotes. Number 4, spread lies and propaganda through the mainstream media. Number 5, invade and control the country, calling it, quote-unquote, liberation. Number 6, Install privately owned central bank stealing all resources, calling it investment and reconstruction. Yeah, pretty much. From CNSnews.com, Independence Forever, Don't Ratify the UN Disability Treaty by Ken Blackwell. I'll get into that after the top of the hour break. It's over at CNS News. Yeah, there's just, yes. It gets to the point. Have you ever gotten to the point where you just want to pull out your hair and just, either shake somebody up and slap them around a little bit and wake them up? Because the vast majority of people that I'm around are completely oblivious of what's going on. Oh, there's a whole lot of people that are aware of what's happening, and they're getting prepared. Backpacks, food, ammo, guns. Really? Oh, I know a lot of people like that. But, when you tell people stuff like this, they're like, oh, you don't want to believe that conspiracy bull, right? You just want to shake them up. You just want to, do something. But I realized it doesn't matter what you do to shake them up or to they're going to have their own preconceived idea anyway. They're going to think everything's fine. 53% of Americans want and are okay with socialism? Okay, and I was just talking about education a little while ago. These people need to get educated. Either that or they need a cosmic 2x4 in the back of the head. These people absolutely do not know what the hell they're talking about. 53 or 56, somewhere around there, % of Americans want socialism, which is bad. Bad. Dude, it's really bad. That's only one of many of the brands of totalitarianism. Well, I know California. I used to live in California. I know most of Californians want socialism. Bring it on. What? Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? God, you people scare the hell out of me. Yeah. Hey, I got an idea. I've got an idea. When Putin, I think Putin's already, the leader of the former Soviet Union, of Russia. Why don't we have Medvedev over here running for president? Why not? I mean, hey, if you want it, let's do it. Let's just go all the way. Let's just do it. Can we? No, we can't, because our Constitution doesn't allow for that. Okay? Top of the hour break. We're coming up on it. This is the Liberty and Freedom Network. I am Reverend Wayne S. Pierce. You are listening to The Views Expressed Live, broadcasting on Spreaker.com. Email us at libertyandfreedomnetwork@usa.com. libertyandfreedomnetwork@usa.com. I shall return right after this. Do you want liberty-minded radio? There's no other straightforward radio you will ever hear than The Angel Clark Show. Join Angel Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern at www.radiofreedom.us. That's The Angel Clark Show, Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern at radiofreedom.us. listen to The Sandy Fox Show. Playing a variety of music, including rock, pop, and country, The Sandy Fox Show is a production of the Force Radio Network. You can find her and all of the great FRN shows on Spreaker.com, Icedcast.org, and by searching for Force Internet Radio on TuneIn.com. You can also find great mobile apps on TuneIn.com to take the live shows and replays with you. The Force Radio Network, real radio for real people. More entertainment value than your dollar can buy you at the movies. Listen to the Chris Top Program on Spreaker.com.
Late Night in the Midlands is an alternative media that covers the truth, theory, and fact that the lamestream media won't talk about. We cover everything from the known and the unknown, the normal and the paranormal, the government lies and the government ties, and even their thrive. We tell what's coming, what's going, whether it be politics or archaeologists. We have an amazing fan base, and our shows are all archived to be heard millions of times more. So tell your friends, your family, and anybody you care about LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Become a member and be informed.
Come listen to Journey into Light with your host, Michael Long. The show is about looking into the afterlife. Where do our souls go from here? What are the true messages from above? Everybody is family, so make a Journey into Light with Michael Long your home. With the best guests on the show, they share the love with all who call in and those who are in the chat room. That's Journey into Light with Michael Long, Sunday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, on blogtalkradio.com/Journey into the Light. Eastland Sci-Fi Radio Theater is looking for you. Are you a voice actor looking to hone your abilities? Are you a writer looking for actors? Then Eastland Sci-Fi Radio Theater is for you. If you are a voice actor or a writer of sci-fi themed radio plays, send your information to Eastland Radio Films at USA.com. For more information, go to eastlandradiofilms.wix.com/EastlandFilms for more information. If you are a voice actor, send your audition clips to Eastland Radio Films at USA.com. Howdy, howdy, howdy. This is the views expressed right here on the Liberty and Freedom Network, broadcasting live on Spreaker.com for the 3rd of December 2012. How y'all doing out there? How y'all doing? I want to give a shout out to the one and only Brian Keller of the That BK Show over on KTRNradio.com. Go check that out. Special show tonight, 8 p.m. Pacific. 8 p.m. Pacific, the That BK Show over on KTRNradio.com. Go check it out. It's an awesome show. Anyway. Hey, first time, there's always a first time for everything, right? Yeah. Diana from Diana and Wayne's Grab Bag Potpourri Talk Show wants to say a few things. So guess what? Hey, here she is.
Yes, it's me, Diana, Wayne's other half. The sane half. No, I'm just kidding. No. I did have a few things I wanted to say about socialism or communism or however. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell the difference. I know I took a class about communism in college, but I was even thinking about, in the 90s, I was going through a time where, I was in my 20s, I had 2 young kids, I went through a divorce, and I was on social services for a while, and I was getting help with housing, food, medical, cash, and, at the time, since my kids were young, and, the thing was I got to be there every day with them. I wasn't working or anything, but I didn't have my kids in daycare. I was home with my kids all the time. I was cushy cozy because I knew that by the 1st of the month I was going to get a check for food and groceries. I knew that my housing was going to be paid for. It wasn't too much I couldn't afford because I had Section 8, so it was set. So, everything was great, And then I started working, and, I don't know, I'm thinking about the mentality of people who are on these programs. I don't know. I know that because I've been there, and for a while there, I started working, and when I started working, my rent went up, because everything was based upon my income. My rent went up, I didn't get food money anymore, my cash aid disappeared, and then I realized, oh my gosh, everything that I'm doing is based upon my income, and I have to keep a certain set amount of income, because now that my rent is higher and all this stuff, now it's all on my responsibility. I have to worry about it. So, and then not only that, but I didn't get to see my kids all day long because I was working all day. And then by the time I came home, it's like I only saw them for a few hours and they had to go to bed. So, and I had them in daycare and all this stuff like that. And for a while there, when I first started working, I thought, well, why am I working? Because the way I was figuring the numbers and everything, if I wasn't working, I would probably bring in just about as much on social services as I was working, because my rent would go down. I'd be getting food money. And so that was the mentality in my head. Oh, well, and the big thing was I was spending time with my kids. And I figured, well, if I'm getting about this, and the medical, that was the big thing. Because with social services on medical, you got everything. There was a few little things, like you couldn't get certain crowns or things for your teeth or whatever, but pretty much everything medical was covered. And when I was working, well, I had to pay into medical on my paychecks, plus I had to pay a copay. So all in all, I was putting out more money working than if I didn't work at all and I just sat on my butt and did nothing. So, of course, I did work at my job for a while, and then I decided, well, what am I doing? So, of course, I backslashed and went back on social services for a while. But then I realized, well, this is not making myself feel better, and I'm not teaching my kids anything. And I finally did get in the right place of doing that. But the thing is the mentality of people, because we know some people that are getting help through social services and things, and their mentality is, well, I'm afraid to lose it. I'm afraid to do something on my own because if something happens, then I won't have. I think it becomes like a safety net, a kind of like a life raft. And if I hadn't been there to know that, yes, I can understand that, then, you know, unless you're really there, for most people who've worked all their lives, I mean, they don't really know, you know, how comfortable it can be on these. And I can understand why so many people would want to go the socialism route, because if the government's doing everything for you, what do you got to worry about? All you got to worry about is making sure you get your checks on time. If you don't get your checks on time, then you'll go down, you'll complain to the office, where's my check? But, you know, I mean, it all comes to you. You don't have to worry about, because what's really bad with society is the more money you make, the more everything is. And if you have a little bit of money, everything costs less for your expenses, because you can always get help with your power bill. You can always get help with your rent. I mean, there's always places to go when you don't make a whole lot of money. But there's not really any help for people who actually work. Because, I mean, there are people who work and they only make a certain amount of money. But once they hit a certain threshold, they don't get help anymore. And, well, where's the incentive to want to keep working if you're not working, you're getting all this stuff for free? I mean, I figured that seems like the mentality of some, because, I mean, I've been there and that's what I thought. I thought, well, why am I working if I'm getting all this stuff for free? And they're all giving it to me, so it's not like I have to work for it. And, you know, and all in all, it seemed like I just got more money that way. But, I don't know, it's pride or something that realized, you know, I have to do this for myself. If I don't do it for myself, you know, what's my purpose, you know? And I don't know, maybe that's the mentality of some people. They're just so comfortable with it, because we know a few people that they get help, and they're like, well, I don't want to do anything that causes me to lose it, because, you know, what happens if something happens and I can't get it anymore? So they're afraid of that safety net, afraid of losing that life raft, or they're going to drown in the ocean. And that was my little thing on social. I mean, it might be the reason why so many people get all these things, because they're comfortable getting it. They know they're going to get it. But then, and you hear this when you're in social service offices from when I was younger. They complain to these people like, I want my check. Where's my money? Almost like it's an entitlement, something they're supposed to get. Hey, they need to take care of me because I can't do it. And I don't know. I mean, has this country always been having the mentality that, hey, if you can't do it yourself, the government has to take care of you? I mean, that seems to be the mentality now, but I thought, you know, back in the old days, people were proud of having jobs, doing things on their own. But that pride that, you know, I mean, nowadays, you know, because I see people in stores and stuff using their food cards and everything, and nobody cares anymore. And I'm sure there was a day, even when I first started using, because back in the day, you had to actually get food stamp booklets. And I was kind of embarrassed doing it. And, you know, I think nowadays, nobody even cares. I mean, there's just like all this stuff. And to me, that seems like a form of socialism, because the government is giving it all to you. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're helping you with all these different programs. And then it almost as if you have this entitlement to it. That, you know, because you hear people complain. You know, I hear people all the time complain about, I didn't get this, or I didn't get that, or, well, my money didn't come in, or something. And I'm like, yeah, see, there's that mentality, my money. Like, I don't earn it, but it's my money. You know, and I don't get it. And all this thing that I've been hearing about drug testing. I'm like, well, why wouldn't you drug test? You know, if you're getting money from the government? Because, I mean, yeah, because I'm working and I had to do a drug test to get my job, and that's to get my job that I'm getting money for, you know, for a job that I'm doing. I mean, it's not, hey, they're giving it to me. So, yeah, I don't know. You talk about the mentality of people, I don't know. I mean, I just think we're just getting too comfortable in this society now. I mean, there are hardworking people out there that don't want to take a dime, but overall, it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller as more and more people, you know, they're getting help from all these different services that they feel they're obligated to get. They need to give it to me, and I don't need to do anything to get it. I don't even have a responsibility. They owe it to me, and that's how it is. Yeah, like that lady going around talking about her Obama phone. She was so proud that she was getting this phone for free. Like, I don't know. It's just, that's my 2 cents on it. Yeah, I'm sure that you have more to say on that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
just from being there, though, I mean, I can see the attitude that people could get, because you do get comfortable on it for a while. And yeah, I have to say, you know, I almost got roped into that for a while. I mean, I did for several years, and thank goodness I got out of it, because you do feel better when you're making stuff on your own and you're doing things and you know that you're making a difference. And I don't know. Well, you know, I can just understand some of the mentality of it. I mean, yeah, people are just afraid to do things on their own. I mean, why are they afraid to do things on their own? People should be proud to do things in life, but I don't know. It's just people just want, and I don't know. The pride for things is just going out the window. I mean, nowadays, like, you know, you see the old structural buildings. You see all the little detail they put into everything, and nowadays everything's just made
Plastic.
Yeah, just plastic cheapy stuff, and the little details on buildings. On nowadays, you just get boxes. You know, on a lot of these buildings are just structured boxes. I mean, you don't, like the Victorian houses, you don't get that little intense detail on everything. You know, everything is just manufactured. Poof, there it is, and I don't know. It's just, I as a society, I think we're just losing so much stuff, and yeah. Just for that, when you sit there and talk about, I don't think anything's going to happen on December 21st. Well, things are kind of already happening. I mean, sure, we're not. It's not going to. It might not be just poof, we're off the planet, but slowly we're degenerating as a society. We're slowly. I don't know. I don't know. It reminds me of the Borg, where everybody has just one thought and one idea, and anybody can say anything, you're just swayed towards that way. I don't know. But I'm sure he has more to say about that. But that was my 2 cents on it anyway.
Okay. All right. Yes. People want to game the system. I know people that do that. They game the system. And I even heard people say, the rich have to give me what I want. Well, not in those words, but that's their mentality. Well, that person's making $2 million a year. They can, raise the taxes on them and give me what I want. While you sit on your stupid butt and get an Obama phone? No, I doubt that. I know artisans, people that work in metal and in wood and all that, and then they do this intricate work, on houses. And like where I grew up in Stockton, California, some of the older parts of Stockton have all that intricate work. But then, South Stockton, all the older homes that are 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, yeah, that's a drug haven in that part of Stockton, the South Stockton. It is just absolutely riddled with gangs and drugs, and you ought to see the houses. No pride, no nothing. The owners that own the homes are like, well, I don't care. I'm not going to put money into it. They can burn it down. I don't care. Whatever. Nobody takes pride in anything. Do you have pride in yourself? Do you have self-respect? Because that's what it takes. Now, on the opposite end of that scale are those people that actually need it. Like your mom and dad, like your grandparents did. Did you know that your grandparents, my grandmother, saved her money? Yeah, she worked, saved her money, because she knew at some point she wasn't going to have that job, and she was going to have to take care of herself. And when she was working back, I believe in the 50s or 60s, around in there, shortly after I was born, is when Social Security, and all that, and everything was, verified, and you can get your Social Security when you retire. Yeah, she retired and got on Social Security. Okay? And, what's Where's the pride anymore? Where is the pride in America? Where is the USA, made in the USA label? It isn't. We were just walking around China Mart, Walmart. Saw things from Bangladesh. Saw things from China. Saw things from... There was... you have to go to the smallest little thing in the, what I call the compulsive shopper aisle, which is the cashier, and find something made in America there. Okay? It's ridiculous. The mentality of people is, that person over there makes $2 million. I want a piece of that pie. Do you want to do anything for it? No. You don't want to mow his lawn to make 10, 12, 15 bucks an hour or do some landscaping? And no, I want his money. I want what I want. That's the mentality. I don't want to do anything. Really? It's unfortunate. I didn't educate myself and go through school and do all that to get to the point of saying, you give it to me. I'm not going to work for it. No, my ass. Okay. Excuse me. But for those people that actually need it, Social Security, disability, Social Security, retirement, that kind of thing, I think all of that should be privatized. I think Social Security should be taken out of the hands of the federal government. Look what they have done to the railroad and to the post office. I think it should be taken out of the federal government hands and privatized. That way, my money that I paid into the system is given to me, and I can get my own health care, or I can get my own, or make my own investments somewhere. Instead of the government investing my money in New World Order bull crap overseas and giving all my money away. No, screw that. I want my money. I worked for it. I spent all those hours working an hourly minimum wage job to get it. I want it. I don't want my Social Security going to some jackass coming off the boat illegally or crossing the border getting my money. Ain't gonna happen. You want my money? Not here, pal. Okay? That's just the way it is. I think all of that should stop. I don't care if you're legal to get here and be an American citizen. No. You don't get all social services when you get over here if you're illegal. But here, see, that's a mentality. Again, go to America, get everything for free. And guess what? If you have a Walmart in your area, or even just, it doesn't have to be Walmart. If you have a McDonald's in your area, yes, I'm calling them out. You can go look, there's a little sign on the wall. It's little, you got to look for it. It's tiny, about the size of your hand or a little bit bigger. And the gist of what it says on that sign is, it doesn't matter what color you are, if you're legal or illegal or whatever. It does not matter. Specifically if you're illegal and you're not supposed to be in this country, you can just go to McDonald's and get a job. A couple of years ago, 3-4 years ago here in Reno, they I remember hearing on the news that one of the McDonald's chains here, one of the franchise owner, was fined $10,000 per person in one of his McDonald's because most of those people were illegal. ICE went in there. I mean, you name it. They went in there and raided the whole place. Chances are, I don't know what happened. I don't know the outcome, but speculating here, I'm sure they became, they just got cards at the end of the day and went back to work. Okay? So what's the point? What's the point of even going to school for 2 to 4 to 6 to 8 to 10, 12 years to get a degree to show people that, yes, I know this, I have knowledge of this stuff, but now I want to know how this works over here through your company. There's none of that anymore. None of that anymore. Hell, when I was young and I was mowing, my grandmother's lawn, she lived right around the corner from where we lived, I took pride in my work. I had the trimmer. I was trimming. I was doing. I was doing, and I took pride in it. And I take pride in my work, no matter what it is. Because you know what? I'm doing it. I'm not sitting in a lounge chair with an iced tea going, you want to cut that corner over there and then do this? No. No. So anyway. Bottom of the hour break coming up. Go to Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. Check it out. I know I'm being weird. Sorry. It's called iced tea. Big picture up there says, quote, make the lie big, make it simple, keep saying it, and eventually they will believe it, unquote. Take a wild guess as to who said that. And after the break, I'll come back and tell you who said that. Or you can go to Liberty and Freedom Network and click on the picture that has Hillary Clinton on one side and George Bush on the other. Yeah. And, yeah. I'm just saying, okay? We got to know where we stand within ourselves. And we have to say, wait a minute, I'm doing this work. I have to do this, or no one is going to give it to me. And like she said, we know people that say, well, we don't want to work because I don't want to mess up my benefits. Really? Excuse me. When you work, and if you have the knowledge and the experience to get a really good paying job, you can buy your own freaking insurance, okay? It's all out there. You go look at it. Go look for it. Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Athena, or whatever it is, Anthem, Humana. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. If you live in California, it's probably going to be Kaiser Permanente, but there's a whole bunch. There's just a whole bunch. Hey, we're going to take a little break. Just a little, not much. It's going to be short. Yes, we shall return. This is the views expressed on the Liberty and Freedom Network. Broadcasting live on Spreaker.com.
Late Night in the Midlands is an alternative media that covers the truth, theory, and fact that the lamestream media won't talk about. We cover everything from the known and the unknown, the normal and the paranormal, the government lies and the government ties, and even their thrive. We tell what's coming, what's going, whether it be politics or archaeologists. We have an amazing fan base, and our shows are all archived to be heard millions of times more. So tell your friends, your family, and anybody you care about LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Become a member and be informed.
Come listen to Journey into Light with your host, Michael Long. The show is about looking into the afterlife. Where do our souls go from here? What are the true messages from above? Everybody is family, so make a journey into light with Michael Long your home. With the best guests on the show, they share the love with all who call in and those who are in the chat room. That's Journey into Light with Michael Long, Sunday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, on blogtalkradio.com/Journey into the Light. Eastland Sci-Fi Radio Theater is looking for you. Are you a voice actor looking to hone your abilities? Are you a writer looking for actors? Then Eastland Sci-Fi Radio Theater is for you. If you are a voice actor or a writer of sci-fi themed radio plays, send your information to Eastland Radio Films at USA.com. For more information, go to eastlandradiofilms.wix.com/EastlandFilms for more information. If you are a voice actor, send your audition clips to Eastland Radio Films at USA.com. This is the Liberty and Freedom Network. Email us at libertyandfreedomnetwork at USA.com. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. We are back. We are back. Go to Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. Check out the articles that are up there, and I'm going to read you one now. By the way, if you didn't go there, I'll read this to you again. Okay? It's something that, Check this out. Quote, make the lie big, make it simple, keep saying it, and eventually they will believe it, unquote. I don't know if this person really said this, but it sounds like something he would say. Adolf Hitler. And the picture on the left-hand side has President George W. Bush. Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. We must free the Iraqi people. On the right-hand side, it's a picture of Hillary Clinton. Syria has weapons of mass destruction. We must free the Syrian people. Yeah, go to facebook.com/asheepnomore to check out more. They're holding up the Illuminati sign or whatever it is. Well, Hillary Clinton's holding up the Hawaiian version of I love you, and President Bush is holding up the horns. So, anyway. Propaganda alert and more lies engineered to groom the American public into accepting an overt attack against Syria as a prelude to an attack against Iran. Hillary Clinton told reporters, quote, this is a red line for the United States. I'm not going to telegraph in any specifics what we would do in the event of a credible evidence that the Assad regime has resorted to using chemical weapons against their own people. But suffice it to say, we are certainly planning to take action if if that eventuality, is what I meant to say, were to occur. By the way, just to let you know, dictator Saddam Hussein used chemical weapons against his own people. Just saying. Just saying. James Adams, I believe the President of the United States back in the 1700s, James Adams said, Dear America, in 1798, when I wrote that the states are duty-bound to interpose, I meant it. Yes. Oh, yeah. Yep. A lot more stuff on Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook, such as the centerpiece of the work is an elliptical glass and stone mosaic floor with a micro mosaic eye at the center of an ultramarine vortex with the image of the city of New York woven into the picture. This all-seeing eye, placed right under the actual ground zero, sends shockwaves around the world. Those of you who know the myth of the Eye of Horus, where Osiris experiences rebirth into the underworld, will surely find it interesting that this eye is located below ground level in the quote-unquote underworld. It was placed directly underneath the WTC in 1998. Oh, look, those clever Illuminati placed the all-seeing eye placed directly underneath the WTC, the World Trade Center, in 1998. Now, isn't that interesting? By the way, there's a video Illuminati all-seeing eye ritual at Ground Zero 1 a year after 9/11. So there's a video for that. Go click on that. Abraham Lincoln. Ben Franklin said, quote, "They who can give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty or safety." I totally and absolutely agree. And one of our best presidents in history said, and I quote, "The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, 'I'm from the government and I'm here to help,'" unquote. President Ronald Reagan said that. So, I don't know. Abandon insane asylum to become a new headquarters for Department of Homeland Security. Isn't that appropriate? That is very appropriate, don't you think? DynCorp and Halliburton, absolutely known on record to, DynCorp, CPS, that kind of thing in your states, Child Protective Services. DynCorp runs them, yes. They are known on record as being into human child slave trafficking. Okay, period. It's out there. It's just, you just got to search for it. It's out there. DynCorp and Halliburton sex slave scandal won't go away. Halliburton, DynCorp lobbyists stall law banning human trafficking and sex slavery. Yes, so the lobbyists are up there going, oh, well, we want, no. Get the lobbyists and the special interest groups out of Washington, D.C. You'll save billions of dollars a year. Okay? Just saying. Homeland Security is built. No, get this. Oh, from theexaminer.com. Get this. This is so wonderful. Big Sis is at it again. Janet Napolitano. I hate it when those videos come up on there. God, see all these pop-ups. That's a pain in the butt. Wow. I'm just looking at the video. Just kind of looking just there, Anyway. From theexaminer.com, Homeland Security. Keep those 2 words in mind just for a second while I say this. Bluffdale, Utah. $2 billion to build a facility to keep everything that you have ever done online. What are they going to do with it? Your speculation is as good as mine. Homeland Security is building a $4 billion, 170-acre complex. Forget this. 17,000 employees. Okay? The U.S. Department of Homeland Security, despite budget cuts and construction delays, is planning to add 17,000 employees to its consolidated headquarters in southeast Washington. The department broke ground at their new headquarters in 2009 and was originally scheduled for completion in 2016. The new complex is now scheduled for completion in 2022. The 4.5 million square feet, quote, federal mini-city of the Department of Homeland Security, unquote, on the site of the former infamous psychiatric St. Elizabeth's Hotel, hospital, and is the largest federal construction job since the Pentagon was built in the 1940s. The construction of the project was originally expected to cost $3.4 billion, but is now going to cost at least $4 billion and is expected to create 16,000 direct construction jobs. 14,000 employees were originally slated to work in the 170-acre complex. The DHS currently has 22,000 personnel working at over 40 buildings in Washington, D.C. area. The DHS claim they will attempt to save money by, quote, ending leases and using telework and alternative work schedules to increase occupancy at the headquarters, unquote. Only About 3,700 Coast Guard employees will be working at the huge complex until 2017. DHS will soon have its own city within the nation's capital, by the way. Did you know that the City of London, inside of London, has their own police force? Did you know that they have their own security team? Did you know that they have their own bank? They're everything. Go look it up. City of London, inside of London. Okay? Continuing. If you wish to ensure you blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. It's just subscription to theexaminer.com. Click on the link there on Liberty and Freedom Network. Check it out if you would, please. Thank you. David Rockefeller, who passed away recently at the ripe old age of 97, did not see his life extension technology because he is a putz. He says, some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty and I am proud of it. Unquote. David Rockefeller. How do you like them apples? I kind of like apples. One other thing I'm going to get to. And I probably said this before, but I didn't get to it. So the last item of the night, speaking of disability and people being on, the system and yada, yada, yada. Oh, by the way, email us at libertyandfreedomnetwork@usa.com. libertyandfreedomnetwork@usa.com. From cnsnews.com, written by Ken Blackwell. Thank you, Ken. Independence forever. Don't ratify the UN Disabilities Treaty. Oh, what's that all about? Well, let's read that. Last item of the night. You can go check it out. I'm going to put the link on Liberty and Freedom Network so that you can have that too. So you can pull out what hair you have left. Back up here. Okay. Anyway, it is now on Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. Go check that out. Let me read this, just a part of it to you. There's an old story from the Jewish I can't pronounce that word because I'm not Jewish. From Eastern Europe. There was a singing contest among the animals. The nightingale loses despite her lovely singing voice. Looking down on the jury, she sees the grunting wild pigs, and she weeps not because she lost. She says, but see who my judges are. America must feel like the nightingale whenever she has to go before the UN panel. Ken Blackwell said that he had the honor of serving our country in the U.S. as U.S. ambassador to the UN's Human Rights Commission. In those days, the UN body had such worthy respecters of human rights as Algeria, Libya, Syria, Vietnam, Sudan. Today, the UN Human Rights Panel now contains such paragons as China, Cuba, Saudi Arabia, and Russia. Yeah, what happened there? See who our judges are. Tuesday, the U.S. Senate will be asked to ratify the new UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Check that out, folks. UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. It's another of those sound good UN efforts to that fall apart under examination. The Heritage Foundation has warned against this document. There's a link there that goes to blog.heritage.org, which will seriously compromise American sovereignty. Heritage experts refer to it as another UN power grab. They're right. Just consider how well the UN is doing with its acknowledged responsibilities. The UN never said a word against the Soviet Gulag, the communist system of slave labor camps. Millions of Russians and other ethnic minorities died starving or shot in those camps. Some even died mining radioactive uranium for Soviet H-bombs. No UN word of protest. China? China has a Logai system of re-education or forced labor camps. UN interest in these? Nada. The UN has no help in Rwanda as hundreds of thousands die, nor Bosnia. The UN twiddled its thumbs over ethnic cleansing. The UN Iraq oil for food program, supposedly intended to relieve starving Iraqi children, enriched Saddam Hussein's sons, the son of the UN Secretary General Kofi Annan, but did little to help the children of Iraq. It was the world's largest financial scandal, but it's been conveniently dropped down the memory hole at UN headquarters at Turtle Bay in New York. The UN speaks constantly in human rights, but never acknowledges the right of humans to be born to claim those rights. The respected demographer Nicholas Eberstadt has documented that tens of millions of unborn baby girls have been targeted for death because they are female. UN interest in this global war on baby girls? Zero. Okay? The Hudson Institute scholar John Fonte has carefully studied the ongoing effort of UN panels and the irresponsible influence of NGOs on that body. NGOs, non-governmental organizations, are accredited by the UN to lobby its constituent bodies. Okay? You got that? NGOs, non-governmental organizations, are accredited by the UN to lobby its constituent bodies. You know what lobbying means? Blow smoke, talk BS, try to get them on your side, that kind of thing. And pay them a whole hell of a lot of money. Most of these NGOs are far left outfits that wage what Fonte calls lawfare against the United States and other liberal democracies. Fonte's important book is titled Sovereignty or Submission? Will Americans rule themselves or be ruled by others? John Fonte asks, said use. I don't know how they didn't get quality, I don't know why they didn't proofread this. John Fonte asks us to consider whether we will subordinate American laws and institute an unrepresentative UN and the NGOs that are so powerful within it. Full disclosure, Family Research Council is an accredited NGO at the UN. The person's organization here, the writer, took this step to rally pro-family forces in the international community against what so many other NGOs are trying to impose on us. We now have 36 U.S. senators on record against ratification of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. All of these senators are Republicans. That is 4 more than are necessary to defeat this treaty. We need to bring more senators, including Democrats, on board to stop this dangerous surrender of sovereignty to the UN. We need to remember the last words of advice John Adams gave us. He was asked for his reaction to the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence he had done so much to secure. Independence forever, said the aged sage. Independence forever, said the aged sage. As if to underscore those brave words, that great patriot died on July 4th, 1826. We must preserve what he and so many others in our storied past have given to us. Keep America American. Ken Blackwell is a former U.S. ambassador to UN Human Rights Commission. That is so frickin' true. Bottom line, that is so true. And get up off your ass and stop being such a coward and wimpy and all that, and start, doing what you need to do to take pride in the work that you do. I don't care if you got a broom and you're sweeping, the floors. Take pride in it. You know? Make a game out of it. Create something in your head. Hey, whatever. I've done that. I used to work retail. I used to work fast food. My background is warehousing and construction. Hey, come on. Take pride in what you do. You know? The bottom line is we have to survive in this crazy world. Yeah, I know. We have to accept the fact that at some point we're not going to be able to use our bodies anymore, and we're going to be done. We're done using them. We're going to get to that point. And once that point hits us, are we going to look back and go, what the hell did I do with my life? Well, I hope not. I hope we look back and go, damn, I did good, didn't I? And it doesn't have to be at that point. You can do something today and tomorrow say that. Damn, I did good yesterday. Now I got to do better. I mean, seriously. The mentality of folks, you know what I mean? Over, what is it now? 48 million people? Or is it still stuck at 46, 47 million people? On some kind of government assistance. Okay? 46 million people. That's damn near half of the population of the U.S. And there's 315 million people. Okay? Or not, I shouldn't say half. It was 51% or 52%, something like that. But it averages out and comes out to be about 46 million people on some sort of government assistance. It's incredible. This is absolutely incredible. How do people live with themselves? How does a person get up in the morning and say, well, hell, I don't have to do anything. I'm going to let the government take care of me? How? Some people are born into that. Some people use that as a lifestyle. In California, I think there was a law that was passed in California back, I don't know, mid-90s or the beginning of the 90s, where they just finally said, you know what, women are not going to have 5, 6, 7, 8 babies to get money from the state, because that's what they used to do in the 70s. I remember that. In high school, I remember 16, 17, 18-year-old girls having babies because they said, well, hell, I'm just going to have a baby and let the government take care of me. No pride in themselves, no nothing. And these were, pretty well-educated individuals, but they got mixed up with the wrong crowd. Yeah, that sounds really parental, doesn't it? They got mixed up with the wrong people. And when you're a kid, when you're a teenager, yeah, what do you know, right? Right? But now look at them. It's kind of like telling my friends years ago, it's like, yeah, I remember the really hot chick that was the cheerleader and all that, and now you look at them 25 years later and they're big and fat and married 3 times and got 5 kids, and it's like, what the hell happened? You didn't take pride in yourself. They beat you down. That's what the system does. It beats you down. It puts you into a place that says you're not good enough. Well, guess what? You know in your own mind and heart and spirit you are. Well, guess what? Start kicking back. Start pushing back. Oh, don't do it violently. I don't condone violence. I support defense. Okay? But go out and hold signs up. Go out on the corner of the street and just hold up a sign saying, whatever it is you want to say. I'm not going to put words in your head. Just go and just do whatever. Show your disappointment with this government. Oh, by the way, let me retract that. Show your disappointment with Washington, D.C. You and I are the government. Okay? We the people, to form a more perfect union. Go read that. That's what it is. I don't, we can do whatever we want. We can say whatever we want. But when you have a preconceived idea that says, well, I'm just not good enough. Well, you're a freaking idiot. I know that sounds contradictory, but Think about it just for a moment, just for a second before we end the show. You know in your heart and soul and everything, you know what's right. You know in there. You know inside. This is what you need to be doing, whatever it is you're thinking of. You know this. So why are you letting people dictate to you what your life should be? Don't live by their rules. You have your own rules. You have your own set of principles. You have your own foundation to build from. Why do you need somebody else to tell you that you're not good enough, or to say, well, whatever they say? Don't live your life their way. Okay? You know who you are. Get out there and be that. Take pride in who you are. Well, take pride in who you are. Email me. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Go to the website, freeamericaradio.wix.com/the views expressed. Go check out the site. If you have articles or such that you want me to put up on the site, hey, go ahead and send that to me to the email address, Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Liberty and Freedom Network at Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Please do. I want to hear from you. So, anyway, hey, folks, it's time for me to leave. It's time for me to go. It's time for me to go eat because I'm hungry. I'm sure you guys are too. So, it's the top of the hour. This is the views expressed on the Liberty and Freedom Network. We are here Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern for your educational and enlightenment. Please email us at libertyandfreedomnetwork at USA.com, Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. And remember this, we, the people, have the power, for we are America.